Hello! This week on Five Brilliant Things, we have the fantastic Kerry Godliman.
If I'm too kind of like, what are you doing Saturday? She's like, you're being a beg.
What's a beg?
Too vulnerable, too needy.
Oy.
Don't be a beg, Mum. We're stand-ups. My job is being a beg.
Yeah.
I haven't got another setting, but we've got a few shorthand phrases. But one of mine that stung was, you look like an unpublished poet.
Yeah. One that my wife will sometimes hit me with is, you look like you're trying to set up a new nightclub in the area. And you're like, oh, God. Yeah, you're muddy, you're dirty.
I stink.
You're wearing someone else's clothes.
Yeah, and I smell bad. Smell of mud and patchouli.
Yeah, but you smell of memories. You're like a scent-based version of that bloke from Memento. That you could sort of wake up
and
go,
go,
yep, I've got to pick the kids up. Kerry.
Russell.
How are you?
I'm all right. How are you?
Just before the nanosecond before we started, you said, I can't remember fucking anything.
No, well, this is where I'm at now.
This could be a really interesting
But I
podcast.
think there's a creative energy to that.
Yes.
That we're going to dig into.
Yes.
I can't remember anything. I know I gave you a list of favourite things,
Yes.
and they might be different today.
But was it easy to come up with a list of things?
Yes
or...
and no. Like when you kind of just spitball in your head, you just think, oh, I love lots of things. I love bananas and I like plants. And then you go, oh, but what do you really like, Kerry? And then it gets hard.
Well, it's an interesting exercise in that respect, because you kind of like, when you're sort of saying, like, what do I love?
Yeah.
Like, what are the things I actually adore?
Yes.
And then you look at them and it's a bit like talking about music.
Yes, exactly.
And you get so kind of like paranoid and you're like, oh, God.
Is it a cool test?
Am I going to say hot water bottles? Is that okay? Do you know what I mean?
I know we're not meant to talk about Woody Allen anymore, but there is that lovely list in, I think it's Manhattan, which we really shouldn't talk about, but there is one of his films where he lists all his just favourite things, from food to music to, and that's something you always go, oh, keep that close. It is something you should, especially when you're feeling a bit shit, just list all the things you get joy from.
Well, it was sort of the idea behind this, of like having, done years of like news-based comedy.
And an antidote to gloom.
Yeah, it was sort of like trying to create this little like Valhalla of joy.
Yeah.
Like, do you know what I mean?
Yes,
like,
the opposite of Room 101.
Yeah,
Just something to go, don't bitch, celebrate.
Of like, oh, that feeling when you put a cotton bud in your ear.
Although I just watched Girls again and she sticks it right in.
Does she?
Yeah. Do you remember that episode? I'm rewatching it, not having seen it for a few...
I was trying to have a lovely moment.
Yeah. On the other side of the cotton bud is someone sticking it right in. She's going through a sort of OCD episode and she... Right in. I know it makes you go weird, doesn't it?
Wowzers.
But yes, because we're all so consumery now, our whole life is the acquisition of shit and stuff. You're like, why don't you organise that then?
Yes.
Because I just think of a lot of like just buying things as just landfill, which potentially just buying loads of landfill. But I'm like, but some of it genuinely does give me joy. Some of that, actually, I've just remembered one of the things on my list. We can talk about that.
Okay, what is the first thing then?
Is the first thing...
So your first brilliant thing is secondhand clothes.
Secondhand clothes, but that's too big. And I probably should have one specific, this dress, this... Yeah. But in my head,
And we're not talking hand-me-downs.
No, we're talking sort of what now I suppose
Sue
people
Ryder,
call...
your Oxfams.
No.
Okay.
So it's more...
Thrift.
Yeah, I suppose the words we use now are thrift or vintage.
Gotcha.
You know how the young people now are on vintage?
Yeah.
Another phrase.
I saw a sign in Canada that said post-owned clothes.
Yes.
Do you know what I mean?
The other one is pre-loved.
Pre-loved.
Yeah.
Extraordinary, isn't it?
Pre-loved.
Yeah.
But when I was growing up, it was called secondhand.
Yeah.
And...
Or tat.
Yeah, but you see, you're muddling up like hand-me-downs and charity shops with... I'm like, there used to be a shop in Covent Garden called Flip.
Right.
I don't know if any... Do you remember that?
No.
Well, it used to sell like original 501s and baseball jackets.
Yes.
It was just around that time, maybe in the 80s, when those Levi ads were out. So everything was a bit 50s, a bit retro.
Yeah.
Men having those sort of DA haircuts like Mark Lamar used to have. And that kind of vibe. And when I was growing up, my mum had a stall in Portobello Road. Oh, wow. So a big sort of key part of my early childhood was sitting on her stall, and she used to sell 40s and 50s clothes in this arcade. And there was a bloke down the end who sold old records, and he played mostly rockabilly and stuff like that. And it's very vivid memory of my early childhood was sitting in that area of like Portobello, kind of Notting Hill, that patch. And that energy of secondhand markets. So it is different to the charity shop vibe that you're saying.
But I'm like, particularly kind of, I'd imagine like a market in sort of 1980s Notting Hill.
Yeah.
Like that must have just been like so fertile for your little brain to just go, look at all this.
Exactly.
Going on.
And the music, like reggae and the Clash, and just like the energy of it, and the clothes. And I think there is still a part of me that gets a genuine thrill out of finding a secondhand piece, as now the other language around it. Oh, it's a piece. In fact, there's a shop in Covent Garden, a secondhand shop or a vintage clothes shop, where they anthropomorphise the clothes. So I remember, and I'm like, I'm not available for that. So they'll be like, oh, she's a gorgeous piece. And that's weird, isn't it?
Yeah.
I'm not going to call her she. I'm not pronouncing the dress.
Yeah. So, I mean, you know, there has to be a limit there. A friend of mine, his wife is a real frequenter. So she came to... they all came to stay recently, and his wife, there's loads of kind of secondhand shops.
Right.
And she did it was brilliant. So she went out for a couple of hours and came back
with a bag load.
Did a fashion show for us.
Yeah. I mean, it's like
but like this proper flasher leather jacket. Do you know what I mean? That she had on. It was brilliant.
Yes.
And she just kind of walked in and went, she's Swedish. She's like, would you like to see what I've got? And we're like, absolutely.
100%.
And her kids were like, oh, mama, do we have to?
But
and I was like,
that.
yes, we do.
Yes, we do. And I want to see you in the like faux fur coat with the fascinator and the crazy shoes.
This is the exciting thing, that it even had like receipts. So you could sort of piece together the story behind the jacket.
Yeah.
Do you know
the
what I
dead
mean?
person that wore it.
Yeah.
I mean, I've bought little knickknacks, and there's an old hanky, not a dirty hanky, but in olden times people would have had a folded up little hanky in a jacket pocket. Finding little things like that. I kind of get more of a thrill out of those sort of purchases than I don't get anything like that kind of thrill from buying new clothes.
Yes.
At all. I'd much rather put together an outfit with these sort of bits.
And is it because you're going in like it's a bit like sort of room 10, not Ready Steady Cook, that you're kind of going in, you don't really know what the ingredients are going to be.
No.
But they're there.
Yes. And the shapes and the cuts and the colours. And it's just more creatively stimulating than going into
having a steak
H&M.
delivered to your house.
Yeah, exactly. It's just sort of a bit more of a thrill about it. Maybe there's a kind of attachment to retrospection, like, do you know what I mean, like the olden times, and so I kind of quite like watching Call the Midwife. Like, oh, look at all the olden times, and you know, that kind of nostalgia, just an affection for that nostalgia, and old cars and old shoes and old hats. And
is there a specific kind of outfit, like a secondhand outfit, that you think that takes you back to that place of joy?
If I had to boil it down to one outfit, and there's been many over the years, dresses I've squished myself into that don't quite fit. But my wedding dress, which I couldn't, so I did have a proper look for a secondhand 50s wedding dress. There was a book I had as a child, the Lady Bird, I think it was Cinderella. And actually she had a few costume changes in that particular story of Cinderella.
She went for
it's a bit like she was hosting the Mobos. She really went for it. She had a different outfit for every category. But what the dress she wore at the end was this classic white 50s shape, you know, that in at the waist and like out, like loads of what I now know is called tulle, but I think of as netting.
Right.
And a sash, like a beautiful pink sash, like pulled waspishly tight. And I wanted that kind of dress, and I couldn't find one in my size, because it seems that in olden times women were tiny.
Right.
They were tiny, like there was all a size 8 or 10 or whatever tops. And I'm a 12, 14, so I just couldn't find one in my size. So I thought, I'll get one made. I'll just get a dressmaker to sort of replicate. And I didn't have loads of money when we got married, so I kind of had to do it on a bit of a budget. And I found this dressmaker. Look, long story short, the dress was a bit shit. It was falling apart. By the end of the disco, the bits of the I can't remember all the terminology, but it was falling apart. Yeah. If I was doing YMCA, it would have been risky. Do you know what I mean? It would have been like, oh shit. Yeah. So I did at the beginning of the day, when it all stayed in place, it did have the look that I was after. It had the proper 50s retro, you know, the type of satin looked a bit like distressed is the language we use now. Yes. Shabby.
Yeah,
in our old
chic.
Shabby chic. And I had a little fascinator that my friend made with a little bit of netting in it, and I found these 50s style shoes.
Wedding hats are always risky, aren't they? Because you never quite, once you've committed to it, you're like, right, you got to wear that. And broadly speaking, women can wear a hat. I remember my dad wore a top hat to my sister's wedding, and he looked like something out of fucking Gringotts.
Wow.
Like it was like the ears.
Well, I used to have a routine on it where I went to America and thought, oh, people wear hats, cool people wear hats. But if you wear a hat in this country, everyone's like, what are you wearing a hat for, you cunt?
Yeah.
It's not a vibe here unless...
It just creates its own... It creates... Well, yeah.
Caps, I think, and beanies.
Yeah, but
Caps are cool. Trump's not done much for caps.
Yeah.
But
you're not aware of it until because you might see a cap or a hat or whatever and go, oh, that looks quite nice. And then Mike goes, I'll whack it on. Any kind of hat, and I'm instantly Amish.
Yeah.
Instantly.
Yes.
Like, do you know what I mean?
But you're right, a wedding is the
But you've got to wear it. It's like, listen, we've all got top hats, and you're like...
And when you look at a bit of old film from, again, olden times, this is a very broad chapter of history that I refer back to. Yes. Olden times, everyone wore a hat. So it's a thing that we just don't do now.
It's odd that, isn't it? Yeah.
But top hats and bowler hats and all that stuff. But I do, for a wedding, that's sort of allowed, isn't it? And the flamboyancy of a wedding is kind of part of the... Because if you're going to bother getting married in this modern wibbly-wobbly world... Go for it.
Go for it.
Go large or go home.
And it's a good day, isn't it?
It's a day. Mate, I mean, this all feels like a long time ago now, like when I used to go to a lot of weddings in your sort of 30s.
Yeah, it's weird. You've got to wait for your second ones now.
Yeah, exactly. Or even my kids' weddings, if they go down that road, which they may or may not. But I just feel like I haven't been to a proper wedding for a long time. But there was a time when I was going to a lot.
You, as a mum at a wedding, you could be formidable.
Oh, especially in my little 50s suit.
Yeah.
Because now I'm on that chapter of
Have
sartorial.
Have a dance.
I'm going to be sort of rocking it in a Thora Hurd suit. That's the vibe I'm going for. Because that's the good thing about retro clothes is there's a look for every chapter of your life.
There is.
So it's like now I reckon I'm into the tweeds, sort of Margaret Rutherford sort of phase.
Who's Margaret Rutherford?
She was like a very formidable older woman that kind of marched in lots of old 50s films.
Right.
She played Miss Marple for like some of the 50s movies.
Okay.
Yeah, she's that kind of like, don't fuck about with her. I can see me channeling that now for this chapter. Of now I'm in the middle age.
How old are you?
51.
Shit.
Yeah, so I'm fully in it.
Yeah.
I'm in the gammon-cheeked chapter.
I don't think you are. You're still...
I am.
Here's an interesting thing, though, because and I mean this as a compliment.
I love the prefix. Don't freak out.
But you don't dress like you're 51.
Yeah, but that being 51's changed because now I'm a Gen X 51.
But this is the funny thing, isn't it? It's that thing. Will there come? Like I often think about, those grey sort of peculiar trousers that older men wear.
Yeah.
We never know where they appear from.
No.
But
there's a shop for them.
But they're not cords. They're not.
But that's what boomers did. But Gen Xers don't have to do it.
But do they? But
M&S, that's where they are.
Are they? Yeah,
They're in M&S.
So my point being, when do you take that choice to turn left into M&S? When does that happen?
No, never.
Does it never happen?
No, we're doing our version of middle age.
I have those occasional moments where to bring it back to clothes, where I get very, very excited and I bought this hooded top and it had all the colours and I got it home and I just looked at it and was like, you fucking moron. Like, when are you ever... And my wife's like, what are you...
That's what wives are for.
Where did you...
That's what wives are for.
And I was in Australia... And I bought this thing.
Yeah.
And
that's a good marriage when there's a sartorial intervention.
But I've got so many.
Me and Ben have it quite a lot. Like he'll say, like we've got a few shorthand phrases. One of mine is you look like an no, it's very shorthand. But one of mine that stung was you look like an unpublished poet.
Yeah.
And he's like, fuck off.
Yeah.
Which is fair. And I say, it's just these ways of describing how an outfit doesn't quite work. Like, do I look like a 1980s art teacher in a state comp?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Because I know that 1980s art teacher and I might be drifting into her look.
That's the worry, isn't it? It's when it's like the one that my wife will sometimes hit me with is you look like you're trying to set up a new nightclub in the area and you're like, oh god, because that really gives that you go start dancing, it just kind of creates that.
And that funny place that I don't know if it's true for younger people because they seem a bit freer than I think our generation were, because I can remember that horrible fine space between trying too hard and looking like you just put an outfit together, this old thing. And it's a very careful bit of sartorial engineering where you're like, I have put this outfit together, but the key is to make it look like it was a happy accident.
Yes.
And I think sometimes that's why secondhand clothes can work, because it does kind of have that shorthand where you're like, it does look like a happy accident because it's a freak purchase. If you put a bit of time in and go to Beyond Retro or any of those thrift shops and really go through the railings and then find a banging jacket or whatever, and it doesn't cost you hundreds of pounds, it costs you less than 50 quid. You can make that work in a sort of contemporary way that's less intimidating than trying to put together a designer outfit that looks like you spent a fortune and tried really hard. And also this, I mean, without wanting to go down too much of a sort of diatribe, but fast fashion's heinous. So it's like you have to kind of get off that thing and being creative around it, and it is, you know, because clothes are fun. That's the annoying thing about being made to feel guilty about buying, because it can be fun putting together outfits, like you say, colours and shapes and da-da-da-da. And I just think you can't really justify that anymore in the Primarks and the H&Ms. So kind of why not just jump on the secondhand thing?
Here's a question for you. Do you think consciously about what you're going to wear when you're on stage?
Yeah. Yeah.
And what is that sort of process like?
I never glammed up. Yeah. Like, I know a lot of the more American female comics, the kind of Joan Rivers, it's that glam. You go glam and like properly sparkle. But that isn't really me. So I've always been more comfortable in flat shoes, trainers.
But because your comedy's so earthy and funny and fucking hell, this thing happened.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, so you need to be kind of wearing an outfit that echoes that.
But then you also don't want to look like shit.
No, exactly.
So is that weird?
But you can, I think now, I think that it is easier for women to look smart. I like being middle-aged because I can go more into those sort of tailored shapes in a way that I wouldn't have. Like, I've got a bit in my current show where I'm like, I wore skinny jeans for the best part of a decade and I don't have skinny legs. So why? I looked like an upside-down cone for 10 plus years. It's like being forced or fashioned into shapes that don't really serve your body.
Yes.
You know, now I'm in a chapter of life that, you know, I'm in the fuck it years. That's what middle age. That's the good part.
There should be like an aisle for that in a shop.
Yes.
Like, oh, you're here for the fuck it years.
Yeah, but not in a I've given up.
Yeah.
Just in a I'm into more tailored shapes.
But it's like fuck it rather than fuck it.
Yeah, like heels. I am done.
Oh.
Heels. I'm done. I mean, like I was up in Liverpool at the weekend, as we were just talking about, and I saw, you know, the girls dressed up on the Saturday night out. And that kind of, there's a particular type of gait, of walk, of a girl in it, and it's not, it doesn't look nice, it doesn't look comfortable.
No.
And I'm like, I've done that, I did that for years and years and years. I'm done with it.
But also, that's when you know you're kind of aging. Not me, not you, but you know
we're all aging.
But when you look at a woman wearing high heels, and your brain doesn't go, fuck you know. Your brain goes, oh gosh, her ankles.
Yeah.
Like that you just want to
just
take him off, love.
Just go and hand her some Uggs and a cup of tea.
So what's your next brilliant thing?
I've decided to go with my body. This brilliant thing. And not in a, oh, my body, it's great. But just as a possession, as a bit of machinery that I'm now into the 5th decade of my life, taking it through and just sort of be grateful for it. And I've started being more healthy now I'm older, sort of being young in the 90s and really walloping my body, like drinking too much, smoking and other things, and just not taking care of it, not looking after it. And now I don't wallop it as hard, and I'm really grateful for it.
What is your new regime with it then?
I do more swimming and yoga and weights. All the middle-aged women are told repeatedly to do weights, so I obediently go down the gym and do it, and I like it. I kind of enjoy it because I'm not as hedonistic as I used to be. It means that exercise isn't as painful. Do you know what I mean? Because you can enjoy it more, you know, because you're not as fucked. But now the culture is more looking after yourself in a slightly different way, and I'm glad of it. And I think one of my other favourite things in under the body, my body, is HRT, which has just been an absolute silver bullet for looking after my well-being in a way that I just, obviously, why would I? But I didn't know about it. I mean, until Davina McCall did a documentary about it, suddenly there was this like, what? And then the minute I got it, it was like everything suddenly being in sharp focus. Like prior to having it.
So it's like contact lenses for your body.
Yes, it's like those babies when they stick glasses on them on social media and they're like, bang. It felt like that. It was like, wow.
Those and the hearing aid.
The hearing aid ones.
Just some of the.
Well, that's what HRT. They should put middle-aged women that are like freaking out, going, "Fucking hell, everything's broken."
Yeah.
And then you get a bit of estrogel on, and you're like, "Ding!" You're like those babies with the hearing aids.
What's estrogel?
It's estrogen. So when you hit
you just rub it in?
Yeah, you just put it. It's in a gel form, and you just you can get patches and. See, this is why I'm slightly fascinated that no one knows about this.
But why don't we sort of like drop that over those kind of like Unite the Kingdom marches?
Yeah.
Like, do you know what I mean? Just a bit
they
of
just
estrogen.
want a cause, and I can give them causes.
Yeah, exactly.
They just want something to get behind.
Just go up behind Tommy Robertson and just rub that into him,
Just
and he's
rub
like,
some
you know,
estrogen,
yeah.
Chill out, Tommy, Johnny.
So what, like, how does it work specifically, like with HRT?
I'm not.
You don't know
this
the
will
mechanics.
be.
But my point being, where you getting it from? How does it?
You go down the GP,
Yep.
and you have to get your elbows out because some of them like to gaslight you and give you antidepressants.
Right.
Because that's the other thing, and lots of women.
Why are your
kind
elbows?
It's a metaphor.
Oh, right, I see. I thought they were like checking.
No.
Sorry. Fuck
No.
How much of an idiot man I am. Yeah, I was like, show me your elbows.
It's an elbows out. It's back to the Margaret Rutherford.
Right.
So it's an interesting chapter, and it comes at different times for different women, but it's sort of suddenly your life, the wheels start to feel a bit like they're falling off. Now, it's not true for everyone, but it's certainly probably true for most women, where your hormones completely change. And the main thing is that your estrogen levels plummet. So if you're lucky and you go to a GP and say this is going on, and they have been properly trained in it, then they'll give you some estrogen,
and it just wazzes you back
and then you just go down the pharmacist and it just wazzes your estrogen levels back up. There's more to it than that. That's a real basic version of it, because you have to take progesterone and some other bits as well. But it basically is a way of just boosting your hormones back to a level playing field. And maybe in olden times, you'd have been burnt at the stake.
Can you imagine that?
Or you'd be dead.
Yeah.
But in more recent olden times, women that would be feeling anxious, depressed, it's this change, you know, kids leaving home and marriages starting to feel into their second, third decade, where you're like, well, you know, what the fuck are you looking at to your life partner? You can go down the doctors and they'll be like, well, you're cracking up, I'll give you some antidepressants. And the culture around that now, like, and my mum used to say there was an old family relation who she just took to her bed. Some distant aunt. She was probably just menopausal and she needed some estrogen. So all these decades of women that cracking up and feeling anxious and, you know, being sort of marginalised, it's now like, oh, I feel sort of a bit more like I've got agency around it and I can kind of manage it better. And there's a culture of talking about it. They're not being shame and stigma around it. But also, it's a shift.
But what's so cool about it, from, you know, like a machine, I view everything through the prism of comedy, that you suddenly go, God, it's such a fertile ground to be funny in, because clearly it's observational.
It's a zeitgeist moment,
half the population.
Yeah.
And it's a language that someone like me cannot touch.
No.
But do you know what I mean?
Well, that's why you can't put me on a bill with Jen Brister and Bridget Christie. Because we are doing the same, we're on the same page.
But it must be so cool, because it's sort of like, that's the great thing about
stand-up. Yeah, I agree.
You can be lost in this kind of...
This is what I'm going through, this is what I'm going to talk about. Because you remember when you first become a parent, that's what all your stand-up's about.
Yeah.
And now I'm on this chapter, because I'm on tour at the moment, and a lot of, you know, when you're doing interviews, they go, what's your show about? And it's like, well, it's about this chapter of my life.
Yeah.
And what this chapter of my life is the perimenopause.
What is your next brilliant thing?
It's a bag of seeds, plant seeds.
Mm-hmm.
I've become a gardening lady now.
Horticulture, that kind of thing.
Like I watch Gardener's World.
Who's your man
out of
that
choice.
everyone... What's his... he's got a name.
He's got a name.
What's the gardening man?
Monty Don.
Monty Don. Yeah. You a Monty Don fan?
Yeah. All of them. Adam Frost, Francis Tophill. These are people I can name now in the way that I used to name pop stars.
Yeah.
They're my pop stars.
Top of the pots.
Yeah.
What's... My dad likes all that stuff as well.
Yeah, I wonder if it's just a chapter of life where you suddenly go, oh, I'm here now. And I think in these slightly crazy times, it is a balm. Like, I have found it to be very therapeutic, and I'm lucky enough to have a garden.
There's a chemical in soil.
Yes, I've heard about this.
Serotonin.
Yes, the smell of it.
So when you disturb the soil,
Yeah.
it releases you're getting free serotonin.
You are getting serotonin.
So you're telling me the most blissed out animal in the world is the mole?
Very possibly. They do look chilled.
But it must be, blind.
Yeah.
Just
and
happy.
Worms. They're like, whatever.
Yeah. I can have sex with myself.
There you go. What's not to love?
I often think about worms in that respect of, like, sort of if they're, so you look at like a caterpillar, for example, and then suddenly one day it becomes a butterfly.
It's just extraordinary.
And then our worms looking on going, oh my God, does that happen to us?
And no, it doesn't.
Nah.
You don't get to have that.
But can you do this?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And then you're like, no, Mum, no. But
Yeah, getting absorbed in all that side of stuff later in life.
What are the seeds? Do you find the seeds and then think, oh, I'm going to put that in my garden, or how does it work?
I buy seeds, or at the end, now we're in September, I will go around all the plants that I've grown and collect the seeds from the thing and then plant them on for next year. It's just a pleasing world, I suppose, to retreat to,
And
where you have some control. And
is this an allotment, or is it your garden?
I used to have an allotment, but we moved about 7 years ago, and I got a big garden, and I wouldn't have been able to keep up the garden and the allotment.
Yeah.
So my mate does the allotment. I still cheekily go up there and hang out now and then, but I now mostly do the garden. And it's got a vegetable bit down the end, and it's got a pond area, and it's got lots of flowers, and it's quite wild. I keep it quite wild.
Yeah.
And I'm slightly surprised, again, by going back to this sort of middle-aged thing, by how much pleasure I get from it in a way that when I was young, and, and that's right, that's as it should be. Like, it's like when I see young people that are into horticulture, I'm like, well, you're weird. Because when I was young, I wouldn't have been into gardening. But now as an older person, I totally get it. I feel really excited by it, which is mad and possibly dull. But,
No. But what is it you get about it?
I find it really calming. I find it really creative. Like, it's genuinely, because the thing is, when you do what we do, that's your creative. That's where you can just play. That's your palette. But the garden is another area of creativity, and it's a bit more, because I'm not much of a painter or a knitter or, but there is something very physical, like a sort of kinetic pleasure from just going out and digging and planting and splitting plants and moving them and pruning them. It's really physical, like, I suppose, like yoga. It's like, again, going back to the body, it's like you're in your limbs doing a thing, and then when you step back from it and you just see all these colours and the trees, and it's kind of, again, like you were saying, it's hard to describe why you love music. It's a visceral pleasure that when you try and make it a cerebral explanation, they don't find each other somehow. It's just like, why is it when I look up at the canopy of a tree, I get extremely moved by it, but I can't explain it, and I'm not a poet or a painter, but I just like it.
Yes, yeah. And do you kind of like look forward to it in the same way that when you were a kid you look forward to going to the pub or something like that? But with that, I've got a couple of hours, I'll kind of get
exactly that. Like, I can spend lose a day in the garden in a way that when I was 20 I'd have lost a day in a pub.
Yeah.
And now I can't think of anything worse than spending a day in a pub.
Yeah, I find that I'm very envious because I don't have that in the slightest. Like, I don't.
But you must have it in something else.
Yeah, definitely.
Also, you've got young children. I mean, this is the other thing, is like, now my kids are older. I have more time, and that, I think, for a lot of women, when their kids grow up and leave home, is, again, you go into this empty nest, all this quite negative expectation, and you're like, well, what are you going to do with all that extra time then? How are you going to use it?
Yeah. How old are your kids?
18 and 15. So my eldest has just literally left home to go to college.
So, and then the 15-year-old, 3 more.
He doesn't really give me much eye contact.
Right, yeah, it's fine. It's a bit
Yeah, only if we run out of crisps.
Yeah.
Then I get eye contact.
And words or just eyes?
Monosyllabics.
What's it?
Crisp.
Yeah. Funny, eh?
It's funny age.
Yeah, it's
lovely though. I do love teenagers. They've just got a lot of they get bad press.
Yeah, they're just, but they need to sleep.
They really need
their
to sleep.
Them guys.
Yeah.
It's very funny.
And they're processing a lot. And the world is not like it was when I was 15.
Yeah, it's funny. The world isn't like it was when we were 15. And as parents, we're not like that anymore.
No.
It's sort of that weird thing of like, buck up. Do
yeah,
you know what I
yeah.
mean? Or like, that sort of world doesn't exist anymore. Where
not really.
We're sort of aware of this weird, insane pressure that they're under.
Yeah.
Like social media and all that. Of like, you were probably of the same era as me, that you got one photo a year and it was your school photo, and you looked at it and you're like, yuck.
Yeah.
And then you hope for better next year.
Totally. But, or just a couple of holiday photos, and that was it.
Yeah, and but you're kind of blissfully ignorant, and then you're sort of aware of yourself when you're a little bit older. But imagine being
they have that hyper kind of self-awareness.
Because they've been under surveillance for their whole life, really.
Yeah. Also, parenting, I think modern parenting is, you sort of had this tendency, I suppose, to think that we're mates. And you have to remind yourself, we're not mates, I'm your mum. And there is that sort of boundary fuzziness where you're like, we can like the same music. But actually what's quite interesting now is that because she's left home, physically gone up north, gone to another city or whatever, which I'm sad about, but I also think it's right. Like, she does need to have some, you need mum to fuck off. Like,
Yes.
you know, if I'm too kind of like, what are you doing Saturday? She's like,
Yeah.
you're being a beg.
Yeah.
That's a phrase that really goes through your heart.
What's a beg?
Too vulnerable, too needy.
Oh, yeah.
Don't be a beg, mum.
Yeah.
And I feel like a constant beg, 24. We're stand-ups. My job is being a beg.
Yeah.
So she's like, don't be a beg. I'm like, I don't know. I haven't got another setting.
Yes.
I'm a beg.
Yes.
So
But from a hopeful point of view, there's going to come a wonderful stage where, you know, next couple of years that you might be gigging in Liverpool and your brain's
I'm
like,
gigging in Liverpool
how
next
great's
month, mate.
that?
Next month.
Yeah, so we'll book a nice
she's
hotel.
like, Jesus Christ, why are you
It's
coming
annoying
up?
that it's this early.
It's really soon.
Like you could have done with 6 months.
And I'm hoping there's loads of posters all over her.
Imagine that. Oh,
all
mate.
over her sort of area of town.
Yeah. Like, but you get there,
I'm
go.
trying to get away.
You're like, why is the gig not sold? Yeah, someone took all the posters down. But you know, it'll be so much fun where you can have that nice thing of like, oh, I've got that gig in Liverpool.
Yes, and
I'll
hang
pop
out a
in and
bit.
see her. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, it's a good hang as well, Liverpool.
It's a really
Do you know
good
what I mean?
hang.
It's sort of like
when we took her up at the weekend, I was like, what is this place? There was like live music. And it's not like London. It's a different place.
Yeah, it's got that kind of sort of, you know, like sort of scuzzy Dublin energy.
Yes.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
It's kind
yeah.
of- yeah,
It's a vibe.
It's a good place to be.
But the North is so different because I did a gig earlier this year up in Manchester and there was some sort of darts tournament going on and everyone was dressed up, really dressed up. And it was wild. There was a wildness, like people standing outside the pubs and singing along to music and all the rest of it. And I was like, wow, what is going on? And Rob Rouse was supporting me and he came up to meet me. And I said, Jesus, Rob, it's like Mardi Gras out there. What the hell is going on? And he was like, well, it's the North, isn't it?
Yeah.
Like that was an explanation. Well, it's the North. And you're like, it is different. It is a different place.
Because I've been gigging in Europe, and so I hadn't been in the UK. I hadn't done gigs in the UK for a while.
Yeah.
So I was there. I think I was in Manchester in like May, and it was that weird thing of having been in like Romania and Stockholm and you know, Copenhagen, all these kind of places. It was that thing of like, wow, a Saturday night in Manchester, you just forget it, and it was so intoxicating.
Yes,
just sort of seeing like the way people were dressing and the kind of the chase of youth.
Yeah,
the
energy of it.
They're kind of there. They're trying to hunt that night out.
Yeah,
and it was just, and then you're aware that you're watching them too closely. But
doesn't it remind you of when
it's like a nature documentary?
Yes,
like,
absolutely. But what was interesting when I noticed it up in Liverpool is it wasn't just the youth; it was all the generations.
Yeah.
They're up for a night out, and it's like the older.
I don't need socks. But it's like when you see like grown men, they're like, socks are not cool. And you're like, mate, your ankles are bleeding, and it's just that weird. It's the hunt. It's so British, but it's so.
And it really reminds me of back when I used to be more of a club comic, and you'd go away for those weekends, and you'd see all the hens out, and
man,
just the wildness of it.
But it's like, it's like if you're closing the Glee, and then that walk back to the hotel, and you're like, wowzers, here we go. Or Cardiff and so on. It's every major city and kind of town really in Britain has that kind of
Saturday night.
Yeah, it's funny, and then you go to. Like you say, you go to Scandinavia, or
and it's not a thing, is it?
Go to Paris, and they're kind of like, you know, glass of wine and the kids are drinking wine, and you're like, no one shares wine with their children.
Yeah, it's a different.
In England, it's just that, you know, what is there a kind of like a dream plant you want to plant? Is there a tree you'd like to?
I can't pick one. Someone said to me the other day, "What's your favourite flower?" And it's like I can't. I love that. I do love dahlias, and I can't grow them. We went to stay with some friends up in Liverpool when we dropped my daughter off, and this woman had an incredible garden, and it was full of dahlias, and I was so impressed because they're really hard to grow, and I haven't got the patience or wherewithal because they're like.
What are dahlias?
They're those big, like showy. They're loads of different colours, and they're. Like those big pom-pom fuckers.
Yeah, okay.
Do you know what I mean? Like they're literally like those pom-poms that you get at baseball or whatever. They're so showy and they put on such a late summer. They're out now.
Yeah.
And they're so beautiful, but what you dig up the tubers and you have to look after that. They take so much effort, and then like cleaning them and making sure they don't get damp through the winter and storing them in newspaper, and then you get them out in like May and you kind of kiss them and stroke them and like give them cuddles, and then you put them in and then if you're lucky and you give them loads of attention, they will perform for you in like September, October. But I've just never had the wherewithal to do that. But I'm very impressed by them when I see them.
And I'm just like, in my head then, I was just like, and this might make me sound really thick, but all the colours on flowers, they must exist to entice bees.
Yeah, I guess so. I don't know much of the...
But it's this I was just thinking as you said that, it's this beautiful kind of cycle that you're nurturing them to make them look pretty.
Yeah.
So that the bees are like, she's all right.
Yeah, exactly.
And it's like this kind of beautiful...
Well, once you start doing gardening in that way where you're not... Because there are trends in gardening, a bit similar to what we were just talking about with clothes. You know, there are fashions.
Yeah.
And there was, I suppose... like my grandparents' garden was very clipped and curated, and it would have a row of geraniums like equidistant apart or whatever. And the trend now is like a bit more wild, and some of that is in keeping with sort of the conversation around climate change, and that you're providing a bit of an ecosystem for, like you say, pollinators to do their job, and the birds and you go, oh, it's the old Field of Dreams, build it and they will come kind of thing. It's like if you do put bird feeders out, they will come and into your garden, they'll eat the bugs to get them off that thing, and and you go, oh my god, it's all connected, and it's quite exciting. It's like a painting. It's so beautiful.
What about cherry blossoms?
Cherry blossoms, stunning. I went to Japan last year, but everyone's like, you've got to go when it's the cherry blossom time, and we couldn't do that. We went in August, which is totally the wrong time.
What was your favourite thing about Japan?
Oh gosh, that's really hard because it's a whole package, isn't it? It's the whole thing.
Having spent time there, so I see
the beauty. It is beautiful, isn't it?
What I love.
The gardens were beautiful.
The gardens are beautiful. The bullet trains are extraordinary.
Yes.
The kind of the
aesthetic of everything is so pleasing.
Yeah, but what I love most about it was that it's the first place that I've ever been to where there is no one is holding your hand and going, but here it is in English. Like it's genuinely like it's Japanese.
Yeah, yeah.
And you have to figure it out. You feel so far away from
you do feel far away.
Little land.
That's the furthest away I've ever been.
But like it's sort of like probably physically and
culturally,
sociologically and culturally. Yeah, it's like.
And that's a lovely feeling. I mean, I don't know because I sort of did a bit of travelling when I was in my early 20s, and that was pre-smartphones and the internet had just about cranked up, but not. So I felt that genuine feeling of being far away.
Where did you go then?
India.
Oh wow!
But when we were in Japan and I was with my kids, they were FaceTiming their mates.
Yeah.
And you're like, you're not going to feel that sensation of genuinely being far away.
That's a very good point. I guess that
cut off.
But it's the strength and the weakness of the world, isn't it? That
Yeah.
You go, oh my god, I can be in Tokyo and I can talk to Ian.
Yeah.
But
exactly
I
that.
could
They
be
were
in
like, I
Tokyo,
don't FaceTime me,
but I
mate.
can still be contacted by
I could
Ian.
I could do an Amazon shop.
Yeah.
I could do a
You
big
could order a
shop.
Deliveroo. For your granddad.
Yeah. It's sort of because the feeling of going away in my early 20s and properly in my head going off grid. Do you know what I mean? Like I went away.
Was that the purpose with India? Were you just kind of
I guess so. I wanted to feel that feeling of excitement, of complete cultural, I am not in Kansas anymore. I am somewhere else, and it's completely alien to me. And I wanted that immersion in that.
And how long did you travel for?
3 months.
And what was did you get that? Did you feel?
Yeah, very much. I did get that. I went on my own as well, so it was like I wasn't with a mate. I met a mate. He came out and joined me 6 weeks in. But that first landing in Bombay on that first night on my own, I think I was sort of 22, 23.
Yeah.
Knowing no one.
Yeah.
It was a very strong.
And did you know where you
feeling?
Did you know where you were going to stay?
I think again this is pre-internet, so now I guess you just work it all out with like you'd book it ahead.
Yeah. Right.
But there was a kind of what we called the banana pancake trail where I had my Lonely Planet and it would say go to that guest house and I went there.
I went to the Holi festival in.
Where's that?
It's in Pushkar or Bikaner, I forget which one. I mean, it was just like. There was a phrase that because the driving in India is something else.
Oh, it's perilous.
And it was just kind of zigzagging, and there's kind of cows everywhere, and cows are sacred.
Yeah, so the traffic stops for the cow.
Yeah, it does, but they go pretty fast until they see a cow.
Yeah.
And I said to this guy that was driving us, I said, "What happens if we hit a car?" And he said, probably the most terrifying word I've ever heard. He went mob slaughter.
Oh,
Like that, and you're like, wow, that is evocative. I don't know what that is, and yet I know exactly what a mob slaughter.
yes.
You know,
I did a
mob
lot of
slaughter.
long coach journeys that they call luxury, and I'm like, what?
Yeah.
And I remember taking Valium to get through them, and I've never taken Valium before or since. I'd highly recommend it. Like maybe if that's the other equivalent of HRT, like a lot of women were on it in a couple of generations before me when they couldn't get the estrogel.
Yeah,
It sort of, I remember being on a coach and it was disastrous. Like the window had fallen out and there was like people sitting on top of people and I didn't give a shit. I was just on Valium.
Yeah.
So I was like, wow.
I love it.
Yeah, it was
What
great.
is your fourth brilliant thing?
Valium.
It's Valium.
It's not as trendy Valium now, is it?
So what is your fourth brilliant thing?
I think it's kind of like a childhood 70s sensual festival of smells.
Right.
So like patchouli and my dad. So I told you already, my mum used to have that stall up Portobello Road, and my dad is a violin maker, and he used to have a workshop up in Notting Hill as well. So they both worked around that patch.
Yeah.
And when I was really little, I used to go to his workshop, and there was a very distinct, still is, I suppose, when he's still got a workshop at home. It's that smell of wood, cut wood, that I find really evocative.
Jeez Louise, that's so sensory, isn't it? So you're in Portobello Market, like you said, the music, the smells.
Yeah, it's really
of kind of
sensory.
all the food and the kind of bye,
Yeah,
and
it's
then
really vivid. And
and
there
then
used to be a woman upstairs who he used to work for, and she was a Nichiren Buddhist, so she'd be chanting, and there was incense, and we used to eat like world food in a way that it wasn't a thing. Like I can remember us having like tamari and hummus and tahini and think long before those, before Ottolenghi came along with all these flavours, and it was like the sort of food that we'd eat when I was a kid. It's a really vivid thing.
Yeah. That is incredible. Like to be like, but the fact he's a violin maker, what a job.
Mad, isn't it? And I have talked about it a bit before because I suppose it is a sort of, it's such a curious, like he went to a secondary modern school, left when he was 16 with one O-level, art O-level, and then back in those days, when would that have been, late 60s, early 70s, got an apprenticeship, and that was the apprenticeship he got, and it just gave him that career. So it's always sort of been this connection to this other kind of world, because my mum and dad aren't really from that kind of background, but it gave access to that kind of I don't know even how to describe it, a kind of bohemian-y, artisan-y. We didn't live around that area. I lived in Greenford, which is kind of about half an hour from Notting Hill, you know, just down the Westway, which is nothing like that. It was nothing like that kind of patch. But it was like this sort of, you know, in The Wizard of Oz, where she goes through the door and everything's colour. It was like that. Like when we went there on a Saturday, everything was in colour. The clothes and the smells and the sounds and all of it, and the food and the wood chip. And I think it was a slightly dangerous, it was a bit wild as well. My dad always tells this story. When I was about 2 or 3, I sort of nearly got crushed by an enormous saw. He sort of literally swept me up because this saw was, you know, 70s childhood was dangerous. People were like smoking in your face. No one wore seatbelts. Saws nearly fell on your head.
Crisps in the pub beer garden.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, there used to be this goat that we used to feed crisps at our local pub, goat on a rope. And we just give it crisps, and it was like, it'd bite you.
Yeah.
And it was like, there was a sort of wildness that's gone now. And I know it sounds pathetic, but I slightly miss it.
Were you a loud kid?
Yeah, very.
Right, okay.
I was always a bit extroverted, and that's sort of, you know, of course it found itself to being a performer. And I was quite indulged. Like my mum and dad laughed at my jokes and took me to my drama clubs and, you know, let me perform. I was never sort of like told to shut up. And
so was your kind of aim when you were little, like before the travelling, did you want to be an actress?
Always, yeah. Right. I never really kind of knew what else. I never had a backup.
Yes.
And actually, weirdly, stand-up became the backup.
Yeah.
In a sort of strange way.
What made you do stand-up then?
I'd always loved it. Again, growing up, my mum and dad used to take me to stand-up. So I remember seeing Billy Connolly when I was a teenager at Hammersmith. Yeah, and I went to see Victoria Wood in Leicester with family.
Wow.
Yeah, so I did see stand-up. And I used to go to comedy clubs when I was in my late teens, because it was I grew up in Ealing, so there used to be quite good clubs.
Yeah, is that the one that Izzard used to MC?
I'm not sure. Simon Randall's one.
Yeah.
At the Viaduct in Hanwell, and there was
It's funny though,
There was
isn't it?
another one in Ealing.
My friend Kumar used to. There was one in Streatham when he was a kid. So like they used to go in him like 14. He's my tour manager now.
Yeah.
But he used to watch like the rotating MCs were Izzard, Mark Lamar, and I think Jack D. And like there'd be like
vivid time, that
20
90s.
people in the room, and you know what I mean. And every week they were doing new stuff.
Well, I sort of went and saw a lot of that and loved it, but never thought I could do it. But really loved it.
Yeah.
And
but that would have been an era as well where they were like those killer 20s. Like I kind of, because I feel like I sort of started doing it at the tail end of that. But I remember like, so I was emceeing. Do you remember Up the Creek in Croydon?
Yes.
So I used to do that loads when I was like 19. I was like,
yeah, you were really young. I started 10 years older.
But it was, I was felt like a kid, and then you'd watch like Mickey. You know, you watch like Maxwell or Jason Wood or Terry Alderton or like Ninia Benjamin or like, you know, like
just killing it
those
with
20s,
20,
you know, that
yeah.
Oh my God,
yeah, amazing comedy, and I loved it. And I went to drama school in South London, so Up the Creek was up the road, and my flatmate used to work the bar at Up the Creek, so I'd often go.
Oh, geez, there was some stories there.
Yeah, some real stories. Because back then, when the closing time in the pubs was, what was it, 11:30? Up the Creek would stay open till 2 or 3, so everyone tipped out the pubs and went down to Up the Creek. So they wouldn't even necessarily go and watch the comedy; they just turn up for the club after. So it was a kind of, that was the. And when I did finally start stand up, I never did Up the Creek because Malcolm was still around then, and I was too scared.
Yeah, of course.
Because I'd seen what a bear pit it was, and I just didn't want to play it. I was quite selective because I'd seen so much stand up through that time that you're talking about. I kind of knew the clubs, so I was like, I won't play there because that's fucking terrifying, and I will play there.
So did you have that? So you must have had that experience where you've met somebody when you would have watched them as a punter.
Yeah.
Wow. What's that like?
It's kind of weird. You always feel like you're on the outside of a gang.
Yeah.
Like you don't truly belong. Do you know what I mean? Like there's always, and I think that's a culture of stand-up that was true when I started, that I don't know if it's as true now. I don't know. But because I see all the newer comics on social media hanging out.
Yeah.
And the culture of it must have changed because of social media.
Yeah.
It felt like this secret world that I was sort of hanging on the periphery of when I started. Yeah. You know, and I guess, so to be on a bill with people that I'd seen, because when I used to go to Edinburgh, I'd go as an actor and I'd go and watch stand-up. So I'd be in a play and then I'd go to Late and Live. Yeah. And then when I finally started doing stand-up I was offered Late and Live, but again, like Up the Creek, I bottled it. I wouldn't take it. Yeah. But I'd stand at the back at Late and Live with all these comics that I'd seen. But I never really felt like I belonged.
Yeah, but I think that's the mark of, like, I think most good stand-ups, there's always that imposter syndrome where you're like, I can't do that.
No.
Nobody wants to see.
But the energy of it then was much harder, tougher, like less fluffy.
Yeah, it's
a different vibe.
It's sort of that thing of like, you know, the sort of, you do like the Comedy Store, you're doing an open spot, and I remember like getting a notebook out, and I was like, you know, again 20, and you're like, Jesus Christ, I took probably an hour of abuse. Like, do you know what I mean? It's just like, I've got your fucking notes, have you? Yeah, I'm really scared. But do you know what I mean?
I don't miss that fear.
I'm going to do 5 minutes, and I don't really know what I'm going to say, and these are all my ideas. Fucking, like, and it was just, that
so physical anxiety.
Thank God that doesn't.
Gone.
You know, and it's sort of, but you sort of try and play that forward because it happened very rarely. But like most comics are all right, eh? Like, in terms of like, you recognise being that scared person who's doing 5. Yeah. And you're like, tell the story, tell it well.
Yeah,
You'd be cool, man.
Totally.
It's fine, you know.
Yeah.
But
it feels
I can't
more
imagine
inclusive.
what it'd be like to be, are you scared?
Yeah.
Like, you know,
like being backstage.
I'm famous. Are you scared? You're like, yes, I am famous.
Yeah, no, you could be met with a lot of hostility sometimes in that green room in the store. Yeah. Which I don't feel is true now.
No.
But I can remember some lineups that just wouldn't look at me.
No, yeah, right.
You know.
Yeah. The Comedy Store is a phenomenal gig. My only bugbear with it is the toilet is so close to the green room. Yeah. And there is no space. And if you're nervous.
Yes, we all know what happens to our bowels when we're nervous.
Yeah. It's just like, you know, and the taps aren't loud.
No.
And and this is before you could play music to try and drown out your fear.
They need one of those Japanese toilets where you can drown out sounds.
Yeah, exactly. If you're listening, Don, you need a Japanese toilet.
It took me so long to get in with the store.
Yeah.
Just so long. And I just recently filmed a special there.
Oh, wow.
And it felt like a really nice part of that circle, you know.
Yes.
Because I didn't get in with them for years, and in the end, I think Ian Stone said to Don, "Just fucking book her, mate."
Yeah.
And it was like, "Oh, go on," you know, begrudgingly gave me a weekend. But I did so many open spots there.
Yeah, so I remember doing, and you'd have that, you do an open spot for the benefit of the people listening. Don Ward owns the Comedy Store, and to his credit, he would always come along and he would watch the open spots
And give notes.
and give notes on a Saturday, which is given the size of his empire, he doesn't need to do that. But the fact that he did it, it was always this weird headmaster moment where, and I remember, and everyone's got stories of this. So I'm like 20 or odd, and he was saying, because I think Justin Morehouse had just signed with him, and Justin had a really funny bit about going to Amsterdam, and he said, "You haven't got a bit like Justin. Justin's got a bit about Amsterdam. Have you been to Amsterdam?" I was like, "No, I haven't been to Amsterdam." Like, do you know what I mean? And it was like, in my head, I was going away, going,
Gotta go to Amsterdam.
I've got to make some money, and then get a holiday. But it was so that weird. But looking back, and it's such a peculiar note.
Yeah.
To go, come back when you've been to Amsterdam and you've
When I
smoked
think-
weed and had sex with a prostitute. Okay.
All right, I'll do that then.
Okay, I'll do all of those things.
And if I went back
Nothing
to my
funny's happening.
younger
Like,
self and said to my 20-something early comic trying to get in on that scene,
Yeah.
one day you'll come back here and a good 15 minutes will be on the menopause.
Yeah.
I thought
Yeah.
you were joking.
Yeah, man.
Like, don't think Don wants to hear some menopause material.
Yeah.
This isn't quite the vibe,
Yeah.
and yet the culture around it is completely changed, and people can talk about what they want in a funny way now.
But wouldn't it be great if Don is still there and, there's...
He was there the other night when I filmed my special.
But my point being, there's a 20-year-old me kind of doing his open spot, and then you've just been on, and then he says, "Listen, you got to have the menopause."
Yeah,
you've got
to have a bit like Kerry
You've got to have a bit like that, and you're like,
because she's
"Fuck!"
got a menopause bit. And you're like,
Exactly, yeah. Okay, so your final thing is...
It's an enamel cup.
Yeah.
Which is just code for camping, all that regalia, all those sort of tin plates. I love the morning. I like an early morning on a campsite, like those smells. And I know that
tell you what's a
camping
lovely
can
thing.
split a room.
One of the things, like, it's harder for women to do, but as a man, an early morning piss out of a
early
tent.
morning
Good
piss.
love. I mean, it's just that...
Have you done one into a tent? It's
No,
even better.
I've never done one in, but I've just cock out, and then back
It's
to bed.
Delicate.
You got to
doing that,
get
isn't
out
it?
there. You got to, yeah.
Well, if you time it right, if you get it pre-dawn, you can go for what I call a jungle wee. You can just go out and do it. But
Yeah.
once the sun's
you've still
up,
got to go out. But my point is, you
have to go far.
As a bloke, you can be on your knees.
yeah,
and just,
you can literally. But then that's not very nice for everyone who gets up a bit later and has to walk about
Sure.
where you piss.
Sure. Yeah,
There is some camping etiquette you do have to factor in.
that's correct. Yeah. And you
But I
never
do
saw
love
that in-
camping. I love it. I love all the gear. I like the community when you're, especially festival. I've really enjoyed doing Glastonbury since COVID. I hadn't done it for 12 years prior to COVID and have done it every one since. And really enjoyed that kind of hanging out camping thing. I just like the kind of smells, well, not the pissy smells, but I like the nature smells. It goes back a bit to what we were talking about gardening, really. I just
And
quite like it.
you-
And then also non-festival camping, I quite like it. I think that's the thing, is you don't take all the gear when you do festival camping because you sort of strip it right back. But I do love all the shit, all the gimcrack, the hob and the unzip the oven and then the shelves and then the little cupboards and like walk around the campsite at dusk and be like, oh, that one's got a lamp.
Yeah.
I love all that, like, again, I think it's a 70s childhood. I went camping a lot as a kid. And there's a kind of memory thing, a nostalgia thing about camping that just takes me back to my childhood.
So would you go a tent over a nice hotel?
Well, it depends on the weather. So but yeah, I'm as excited by a
So let's
really
say-
lovely camping holiday as I am a nice hotel.
Let's say the weather's good.
Yeah,
It's
I
good
would go
weather.
camping.
You go tent over.
Yeah,
The good thing about a campsite is it's self-selecting.
right.
Everyone there loves camping.
Yes, exactly.
So all those people, the naysayers who are like, oh, I can't.
They're not there.
That's a good point.
They're gone.
Yeah, they're
so
not
you're
there.
all in it, getting dirty and having a good time.
Yeah,
That's
and I
true.
love it when the kids are just mine. Again, it's probably nostalgia because mine are just older now, so they don't want to come on camping holidays. But I just love it when all the kids are like cycling wildly around the campsite and that freedom, and that you don't get that in a posh hotel.
I remember
I like the smell of cooking on a campsite.
Yeah.
When people start doing their tea and the barbecues like get going and they're frying an onion and it's like, oh, again, it smells. It's specific smells that I really love.
But there must be something about doing it as a family as well, which must feel so kind of cool and fun.
Yeah, really lovely. And again, I suppose it's that slight sadness that I'm that chapter of my parenting and my kids being little and running around a campsite in their pajamas, that's done now.
But isn't it funny that the next phase of that, maybe, touch wood, will be when you're a granny and you're kind of like...
I had my first granny part at casting wise, so that was quite an interesting since doing acting from like my early 20s. Early on it was drug dealers' girlfriends, that was my casting niche, and then there's this other bit where you're mums, you get into the mum time, then the mum of an adult. I remember when I got a job and Lacey Turner played my daughter and the casting director was like, could you be her mum? I was like, well, if I'd had her at 16 and I could. And I got my first grandma part recently.
Nice. What was she doing?
She was just a grandma. She was just a grandma. That was who she was. That's what she was doing, being a granny. But I was exciting. Like, wow. I mean, women's casting isn't always related to truth and reality. They can always play up. Oftentimes, if you look at female casting, oftentimes, like Sally Field being Tom Hanks's mum in, you know what I mean? Like, that's a famous one.
Yes.
Where you're like, they're the same age.
Yeah.
There's been many times when I've had husbands that are a good 10 years plus older than me. And funny, that. So I'm not a granny in real life, but in the world of casting, I'm firmly in the granny box.
There's a better way of putting it than that. But
oh God, I always blunder into a weird genital-based pun.
Firmly in the granny box is...
all roads lead.
Yeah, exactly. God, I really enjoyed that. It felt...
The granny box.
No, not the granny box, but the whole thing felt very like evocative and nostalgic.
Very nostalgic.
Smelly.
Bit sepia.
Lots of smells.
Lots of smells. Have you had other guests go down the smell street?
Yeah. Well, smell and memory are intertwined.
Yes, of course, in that Proustian thing. But
also have so many there must be so many smells that transport you to the many varied places you've been.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's kind of like soil. You're there.
Yes, and I don't organise my thoughts in a story like we talked before. I've got that story about that, and I've got that story about that. It's just more sensory and vague, and that's how my brain sort of works, really.
And with the sort of the current tour, is it like that?
A bit.
Great.
It's quite emotionally driven. It's like peaks and.
But when you're doing stand-up about the menopause, that must be so electric.
It's very visceral.
But for the audience as well, receiving it, that they're like,
yes. It can go a bit ranty. But I've always been a fan of that sort of ranty comedy, like Rod, and I really like bootless, pathetic grown-ups howling at the moon. That's the kind of comedy I always loved.
Yeah.
Why is it like this?
But that's the majesty. But that's kind of why you need those little dark rooms, because when you make a joke or you make a rant or you sort of make an observation, when people laugh, it's basically them saying to you that you're not mad.
Yes.
That's kind of
what I loved about comedy as a punter before I even did it, was any of the crazy shit that goes on in your head, someone goes up and says, I feel that crazy shit too.
Yeah, I love it. I was at Top Secret the other day and I just had this pause and my brain was just like, I'm just going to say it. I was like, isn't it weird? You can be famous now if you're fat and you say Bosh. Isn't it mad? In the world, mad. And
I ended up getting, my last tour was called Bosh. So
was it?
That weird southern thing about Bosh being someone else's catchphrase, I'm like, mate, that's my Taskmaster catchphrase. So you can fuck off.
It's the funniest thing that there's a man called,
I know, who is
Big
he?
Jeff or whatever, and he says Bosh.
Yeah.
He's on tour, like, and he's like he's touring America.
Yeah, but me and him have got.
It's about 3 seconds long.
But it turns out there's another man who also says Bosh, and he's doing Strictly, and there's this big battle of who Bosh first, and then it turns out you were the Bosh-er.
I was the Bosh-er.
Isn't it mad though? But at least you've got stories beyond Bosh.
I don't think we have the same target demographic.
Yeah. But it's so funny. Like, it's sort of like you could be famous for having sex with 1,000 men in a 12-hour period. You could be famous if you go to Ibiza with a shit haircut. Or you. But
how are we defining famous?
Well, here's what's interesting. So my friend's Swedish son went, "Have you seen that bloke that says Bosh to me?"
Right.
That to me is a wild thing.
Mad.
That you go.
But the people you
live in Stockholm and you're 15.
Yeah.
And you know a man that has a big Chinese and says Bosh at the end of it. And he goes, yeah, it's brilliant, isn't it? And you're
Yeah.
like, I guess it is. But how strange is the world that...
It's very fragmented. So
Yeah.
your famous isn't my famous, isn't his famous.
That's right. Yeah,
You've
but...
got to take a stand. When he says it's great, isn't it? You say no.
Yeah, but see, here's the thing.
It's
But,
not.
You're right.
but it's also that thing where it's very interesting when you find yourself, there's so many different sort of entertainment motorways.
Yeah.
And you kind of like, it's ultimately your job to do 100 on yours. And it's exciting when you find yourself in those other motorways going, wow, this is a thing. That this is clearly working. And they're not faking that they're into it. They're actually into it.
Yeah,
Do you know what I mean?
yeah.
I mean, like, it's sort of that thing where you go, I remember watching Grumpy Old Women years ago. It was fucking incredible.
Yeah.
And it was all about, like...
Probably the menopause.
Probably, like, Matalan and fucking, like, all these... The references meant nothing to me.
Yes.
It was servicing. Like, my mum was, like...
Yeah.
losing it. It's like, I don't know. I like that. You're right. But, like, the Bosh Collective aren't great. But it's sort of... It's trying to figure out what is it he's getting from that? What is it that...
Diabetes.
No. What's the 15-year-old
Oh, right.
boy in Stockholm getting from it? He must be getting something. And it's, I don't know, there's something really...
Don't go down the road of wondering what people are getting out of weird viral spikes because...
But it's interesting because they are getting something. Do you know what I mean? And but it's kind of... It's just trying to analyse because we live, that's the funny thing. People say, oh, the internet's not real. Of course it's not real. And yet it's the place where we all live.
Yeah.
We're
Well,
there for
we half live there
hours.
and we half live IRL. That's the thing, is that you've got two worlds. One's online and one's off. And as I've just said, in all my favourite things, mine are all off.
Yeah.
They're
And
all
very
in the,
off.
Yeah,
Like,
they're in the sensory landscape.
Yeah, they really are. Yeah, you're muddy, you're dirty.
I stink.
You're wearing someone else's clothes.
Yeah, and I smell bad. Smell of mud and patchouli.
But you smell of memories.
I do smell
Do
of
you know what I mean? You
memories.
could whiff yourself. And it's a bit like you're like a scent-based version of that bloke from Memento. That you could sort of wake up
Yeah,
and go,
I go,
yep, I've got to pick the kids up. Like it's sort of... But yeah, every whiff, there is a different story. I love that. It was so interesting.
Thank you.
Ladies and
It
gentlemen,
was
the
really fun.
wonderful Kerry Godliman.
Thank you.